evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order. And our responsibility this evening is to review our 2013-2014 budget and the work that we have done to date. And we will begin with the suggestion from Commissioner Schaefer at the end of our meeting on Tuesday. He asked the finance director to look at what we might do for county employees, and is that at our place? We have that at our place.
Desk.
Okay.
You've seen the top two, it's the next two, on what would happen to the expanded table, and then add $300. So for in the general funded add, with the 15% fund balance, $1,261,000. Then I didn't know if you said 500, but I did 500 on what it would be. $1,458,000.
I don't think I said anything.
I'm the one that talked about the numbers. He talked about the different percentages.
Okay.
You know.
Yes. Anyway, I couldn't do the
But I talked about the numbers. You know.
the numbers. That's what we did.
She knows.
Mm-hmm. I hope.
Yeah, she's supposed to.
Call her. Okay.
She was not feeling well today.
Oh, she was sick.
She was not feeling well today at all.
I talked to her at least twice.
Did you?
Did you?
Okay.
Okay. So, then you were, do you want to turn to you?
So are we ready to move on?
Okay.
And of course, gentlemen, you realize what we do tonight is what will be published in the newspaper, which is a requirement of our committee. And then Commissioner Baum presented us with a proposal of cuts that he wanted us to consider. And the mayor and finance director have been working today to see what impact that has on our current budget, but also to look at what impact that would have on next year's budget. And the mayor has a recommendation for us to consider.
Could I go right back to this right here just one quick second?
Surely.
I didn't know where I thought we were going to talk about it.
Well, that would be all part of this ultimately.
Is this ultimately part of that? Okay, okay. Well, I was just thinking, we're still at 1.5% right now of what we decided, something that we're,
No, all we did was just,
All
we
you have
kept
is
the
a step
table.
increase.
okay,
That's all that's in your.
okay, okay.
So this is all in addition to the step increase.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And we need to give them,
Well, I was going to let him.
okay, so when you're ready to give that, okay.
Did you want to talk to this?
Oh, this has the
Or do you
expanded
wanna
I
table.
want to talk to this, when I talk to all of us
Oh, we
together.
could
Okay.
Do you need that? I said we need copies of that.
And not the expanded table.
All right.
All right.
I have one. If you'll just start that down, please.
Well, back to this, all these talk about the expanded table. We haven't decided we're going to expand it. We could talk about just adding $300, $500 something without expanding the
You
table.
can talk any combination you choose to talk.
That may, some of these flat dollar amounts may cause a bit of a problem on the steps or grades, but that helps out those lower people a little more than, and in a tight economic time, I'd rather help them out a little more if we could, and the department heads are making a little more money to start
Okay,
with.
do we all have our copy of the mayor's recommendation that he's going to discuss with us?
Okay, this is complex and difficult, and if you have any questions, and Lisa, if I leave anything out, you prompt me to clarify something, okay? So, but we looked at this every way we could look at it, to be honest with you, many, many times. And actually, the only thing that we really think that's practical for us to do without jeopardizing our ability to deliver critical services is what I'm going to recommend right here. So, respectfully, I'm not suggesting that we reduce the number of patrol cars. I think if we do that, next year instead of needing 30, we're going to need 45. And I don't think next year we're going to be in a position really to have that money. I mean, I don't see a growth in revenue occurring that will help us next year. So I think we need to look forward to next year. Secondly, we know this year, just on the health insurance, we're just taking care of a half of a year. Next year, we're gonna have a full year of that cost, so more is coming there. So we need, somehow, we've got to build a little bit of fund balance that we don't currently have. We've got to build past just the absolute minimum policy limits. That's sort of how we've lived the last 3 or 4 years without a tax increase, because we did have some of those fund balances. We don't have them anymore. But it's critical that we maintain these policies that you have put in place years ago. I mean, they have helped us immensely with our ability to borrow money at a very, very low rate. So the fund balance policy that we have for county general and for the debt service is critical to our ability to continue to sustain the growth that we're incurring. So we've looked at how we can move some of these pennies around a little bit more than we've already suggested, so that we can improve our revenues. And I'll sort of go over these. These are all on this sheet of paper here, and Lisa prepared this in summary, what I'm going to tell you. But we'll start with the development tax. We believe that on the development tax, we can project a little more revenue than she had initially projected. So we're increasing that on this recommendation from $2 million to $2.5 million, which means that the county general will get $250,000 more, and debt service will get $250,000. So, and we're also suggesting that we draw down the development tax fund for capital purposes an additional $600,000, and you can see that at the top of your sheet where it is. So that increases what we had previously put at $1 million. That would be $1.6 million that we're going to draw down. That still leaves us a balance, an ending fund balance of $1.5 million, which we think is a reasonable amount to have for unexpected occurrences that might develop, and they do develop, as you're well aware, every single year.
That's outside of what we'll keep for debt services. I'm not touching on
We're just,
that.
I'm in the development tax now only, okay?
Right.
So we're gonna put another $250,000 revenue in debt service, another $250,000 of revenue in county general.
And draw down the balance.
And draw down the balance $600,000 more than we had initially projected. At $1 million, we're gonna project that at $1.6 million.
I follow you. I just didn't know if some of that drawdown was part of debt service
No,
or
sir.
not, so.
We're gonna get to that point. That's about point number 4. Point number 3, I have struggled substantially. We'd already projected moving 1.5 pennies out of the ambulance fund. That was in the original recommendation. And I have tried to see how much we can move out of, again, in addition to that. And 1 more penny is all that we can handle. If we move 1 more penny at the end of 2014-15, we'll only have $1.5 million in the ending fund balance of the ambulance service. So we're getting to the point that we've only have assurance at probably 3 years that we might not have a problem with the ambulance fund, with the 1.5 plus the there's just not any way to do it. And that takes into account that next year, 2014-15, we're not going to have the capital needs that we currently have this year. We're not going to have the dispatches, consoles. We're not going to have cardiac monitors and AEDs. So there's $600,000 or $700,000 that will go away that we won't have to spend again. But I've taken that all into account, and at the end of 2014-15, there's only about $1.5 million left, and we're using fund balance of about $1.5 million every year out of that at this level of property tax supporting the ambulance service.
Mayor, quick question on that. You said that next year we wouldn't have any more of those cardiac monitors.
I think we're getting them all replaced. They're not in here.
I was thinking that we were still lacking some.
We'd already bought some this year.
But I was still thinking there would be some left over, but hopefully I'm wrong on that.
I think
so.
we've got them.
Didn't we have half of them now, and we were gonna buy the other half?
I believe
when
that's
that-
about right.
Well, can I ask a question on that?
Yes, sir.
Just about, I don't know if there's anybody, maybe one of the sheriff's department can answer. But I've heard that those monitors, that the ambulance service, and this was at public safety last night, I was here, that they have apparatus that can take the place of that are just as good or do the same thing. Is that true, or did I mishear?
I don't know if that's true. Before we order these next cardiac monitors or AEDs, whichever one of those devices you're talking about, we will get
The
the full
AEDs is
explanation.
what was in their budget, but 14 more AEDs,
And
I think it was.
they're not nearly as expensive as the cardiac monitors there. But anyway, if that happens to be true, I don't know. I can't give you.
But I could have
clear answer.
misheard it, I'm just.
We always need to look for every better option there is out there. So we won't do that till we investigate that and clearly know the answer. Okay. So you can see here that they're reduced the ambulance property tax allocation so that we've moved $586,000 over. That's that 1 penny. We've also looked substantially at the ability to move some money out of the debt service fund, and we think a penny is all we can move out of there and still have reasonable ability to believe that we can accommodate the needs that the school has projected on their 5-year capital plan and the capital plans that we have, for county general. So this still leaves us in a good position with respect to the fund balance. I don't know, let's see, Lisa, I think it comes up that we still have more than enough money to accommodate, we believe, in a reasonable way, the needs that we have for capital expenditures for the school and for the county, and still have a 65% requirement met on your debt policy, debt reserve fund policy.
That takes away the penny and assumes that $1,250,000 goes in and then
With
it grows.
250 more in there, yeah.
And grows in the future.
And grows with the rest of it. We do have backup stuff on that if you need to see that. Now, did Sonia show up here yet?
Yes.
Anyway, I want to say this, and this little one piece of paper was sent out to you first here. I am putting in my recommendation, my revised recommendation, that we expand the pay grades. We have worked really, really hard over a year ago to do a salary compensation kind of survey and review. And among any number of municipalities, we're already a year behind from when we actually did it, so that's already a little bit out of date. So we'll just assume it's perfectly in good shape. We need to get our people to the level they need to be in a competitive way in the marketplace. And I'm not putting any recommendation here except for that, because this, and Ms. Stevenson can tell us specifically, this would give everybody more or less, except a small number of people, an increase. So we don't need to lift the table. I don't recommend lifting the table. We don't need to add another $300 or $400 or $500, because this is going to substantially help a very high percentage of our people have an additional amount of money to put them in the right place where they should be with respect to the marketplace out there. So that's my reasoning on this. And Ms. Stevenson, I'm sure, can help us with all the details we need here, but how many people are going to get raises of various stuff, but it's reasonably substantial. But I think until we do this, we're going to be fighting an uphill battle every year trying to determine how we're going to keep them in a competitive marketplace, competing with all of our people, especially our folks that are in law enforcement and emergency services and stuff. We're going to have to stay competitive, and we're not there. And I'd like to see us do this, so I'm going to strongly recommend that we do that.
Is that to go from 14 to 56
Yes.
classifications?
And that would overlay the salary review compensation information she has, that would overlay these 56, and it would 54, and then that would apply to the people as they apply to, based on their position and their job functions and duties. Okay, Lisa, did I miss any of the points that's on this big piece of paper?
I think you've got it. Just in summary, draw down development tax, 600, reduce the penny, or reallocate the penny from ambulance and 1 from debt service. Change the revenue assumption on development tax to 2.5, and add the pay raise.
Okay.
So that's just, this is, all these say expand the table and.
Everybody.
Yeah,
1.5
but
to
he's
1.
not- he's not
You
saying
just need to expand the table.
Expand the table
So,
Because
we,
when
and
we
we don't have
expand the
that
table-
number on this sheet.
But it was on. it was in the-
840,000.
140,000.
840 to expand the table. And when you expand the table, you're taking care of 90, I'll let her tell me if it's 95% or 90%. What percentage of people are gonna get an increase?
There are 7 individuals throughout the county who wouldn't get anything due to them already being outside of their salary range based on the salary survey study. There are another 77 who would not get an increase, but that would be based on either they're topped out or the salary didn't, they were newly hired. If somebody's newly hired, of course, they won't get a step increase. And then some of the individuals, I think this sheet actually included some of the elected officials and those type things, so they would, theirs is based on the state plan. What it does do is of the some 140 topped out employees based on the reclassification, 63 of those individuals will get an increase due to the evaluation study. So, 63 of the topped out people will get an increase as well. So it touches a large portion, outside of
95% plus.
plus. Yeah, there's 84 people that it would not get an increase.
Does that include the ones that have topped out?
Mm-hmm. Of the ones that have topped out, 63 of those will get an increase due to the evaluation of the.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, we could leave her up here because I'm sure you want to come back to some more in-depth discussion of this. If you look at this big piece of paper here, you can see at the very top right-hand corner, before these changes that I'm recommending right now, it would take 5.82 pennies to balance us to a 15%
Unbalanced.
fund balance, okay? With these changes, that 5.82 is reduced to 3.97. And nothing else on that page changes, basically, except with the 54 pay grades. It does add dollars to each of those three, each of those, the solid waste and the ambulance, they get some additional dollars added to them. If you go to the next page.
Before you do,
Yes,
quick
sir.
question, if you didn't expand this, what would that number go to? You said it was 5 point, upper right hand.
840,000 would be a penny
See,
and a half.
it dropped down to 3.97, so that 397 would drop to about 2.5.
Okay.
And everything that the ambulance service had in their proposed budget that went through would still be there?
It'd still
The
be
three new ambulances?
Yes, sir.
Mhm. 'Cause
I think those 3 ambulances
Oh, they got
are
50.
critical. I mean, I really do. I mean, we've got
Yeah.
over 7 or more ambulances at 175,000 miles
We
right
got
now.
15 to 25 that are over 150,000.
Well, I didn't count that up, but that makes
Yeah,
sense.
well, that's the way I looked at it. And we got 13 ambulances we need to have in service to cover our stations.
Correct.
So we're gonna be in a world of hurt and be cutting them out of stations pretty soon,
Well,
because
I think
if we don't do
service
this.
levels to our citizens and the safety of our responders, I think is critical to our public safety program. I really do.
And according to, everybody said last night that's associated with ambulances past, future, whatever, for the mileage, their suspension and what they do, is when they hit 175,000, it's what you could call Cinderella time. In other words, that's when she loses her glass slipper and they turn into a pumpkin.
Well, the majority of the ambulances run emergency traffic. They've got a few they use for transport. The sheriff's department, they take their best cars for emergency traffic, and you have to try not to have those 150,000 mile cars out doing that kind of traveling, but these ambulances are.
Yeah, we've got.
And they've got 3 people on them, including a patient one, or at least half the time, or at least 2, and that's a lot more dangerous, heavier vehicle and everything else.
Well, too, they have to do more inspection and more maintenance when they hit that mileage.
Yeah.
And the inspections and the
$100,000.
costs on that will increase too if we keep using them.
And our garage can't always do it, because if they've got other things out there, they gotta wait, then you gotta go out to an outside vendor, get them inspected.
Okay, on the second page, you can see at the right edge of that page that the general purpose school, this is the same number. They need 2.72 cents to meet their required 3% of fund balance, which is a low fund balance, but that's what it takes. Okay. So we need 3.97 and 2.72. And here is the mayor's recommendation. 5 cents tax increase for the general fund and 5 cents for the school board. We can start with the school board. Increasing that 2.72 to 5%, 5 cents, not 5%, is a little over $1 million. That's really only going to add $1 million to a $9 million. It's still a very low increase on that fund balance, even though we're going up 2-point-something pennies. I really think, and it's imperative that we have enough, and you might say excess from the actual numbers that we're generating here, to be sure that we don't tip that 3%. I think we may possibly gain more, just like we do every year in that fund and the county general fund in unused expenditures. But I think I already mentioned this. Health insurance, we got a full year of it next 2014-15 budget, and that's a lot of money. That's way more than $1 million for the school board.
For the
So
school board, it's $2,765,000 that we start off next year adding.
So
on
I'm
the
saying,
14-15 year.
so we need that little bit of increase. We need Mr. Sandvig and Mr. Odom to be prudent and have even some more money added to their ending fund balance for us to be in a position of not having to raise taxes again next year. I don't think I could recommend anything less than this and have any reasonable hope that we won't have to raise taxes next year again. Okay. I think, unless Lisa tells me otherwise, I've told you all I really wanted to say about this. And,
Well, that last statement you just made, you're assuming that if we have the increase that we're looking at, that you just recommended, that possibly next year we wouldn't be faced with a tax increase.
I think it would give us some hope for that. Right now, there would be absolutely none if we don't add something to these numbers that we have here.
And Mayor Burgess, I'm sure with this recommendation, you have already sort of taken a look at how this would impact the citizens that might have like
Oh, yeah.
$150,000 or $250,000.
If you've got a $150,000 home, it's gonna cost you $37.50 more. If you got a $200,000 home, it's $50 more. It's $1 per week. That's what 10 cent on the tax rate is going to, that's a 4.1% increase. 10 cents is.
I'm rolling all this around in my head. What's this do to the employee that's getting the raise, getting the insurance whammy, getting the tax increase? You know, you know, we were looking at the expanded table and to a certain degree of helping those folks, helping those employees in the difference of the insurance as a whole. Some it will, some it won't. I understand that. But what does it do there? You're pointing it.
Well, it really depends on, it's kind of hard for me to say because I don't know which option or which plan they're in with the insurance. Of course, we know that there was a slight bump in all plans, so that will impact them some. But the minimum increase, as I look through here, other than those who weren't getting anything, it looks like $316 is the lowest amount per year, where that levels some of those individuals out, and of course it caps at 5,000. If somebody's way out of range, the cap is 5, and then you catch them up in subsequent years. So, of course, there's 77 employees in the population of what, 848, I believe it is. Is that the total for the county general? 848, I believe, for county general. So 77 of that 848, of course, will be stagnant from where they're at. So I know that it will impact them in some ways, but for the others, they will be getting something to help offset that difference in the insurance. And also it goes back to which plan they decide to take. With the changes in the plan, it may be more beneficial for some of those who were in a more costlier plan to go to a better plan for them.
The average increase is 38% on the premiums. Some of them, it's as much as $100 a month almost increase.
Yeah, the employee plus family and the deductible plan went from 168 to 210 or something like that, which is $42 a month. That's $500 a year right
Yeah,
there.
right there.
That's just, I remember looking at that one.
Well, the couples in that deductible went up like 40, with what was finally settled on,
The
like
deductible
40
went
a
up
month.
also, the emergency room
But the-
visits went up, but a lot of other.
But the
other
copay
costs.
was a little less per the same categories,
Same
was a little
plans.
less per month.
So for some, they will break even, and some will do better, based on the analysis of the plan. But it's
You got a
far
family.
better for the expanded to reach the majority. 1%, 10% of the population, a little less than 10%, won't be impacted.
I would venture that across the country, most people's insurance rates are going up quicker than their income. Especially on self-employed people that are paying the whole amount.
Well, I can't say for certain, but I know that Melissa checked around with some. If you go out and purchased it on the market as an independent, if you were self-employed, you can't get the benefit we have for the price of the benefit that we have. Out in the open market, if you went to Farm Bureau or some of these other entities, it would be hard to have the same insurance plan that we have and the benefits that we have. So, and I will say that when we checked around, some of the other organizations that are like Rutherford County are giving increases to their employees. Some are doing a cost of living plus step, and some are just doing a flat increase. I know the city is doing a 3.5%. The state is doing, I think it's 2% minimum. Last year, the state's range was from 1% to 5%, but their average at the end was 4.71, which then impacts our, our constitutional offices here. So, the other counties that were in like size to that we comparable to, did an evaluation to see what they were doing as far as benefits, and I didn't find, they were either doing their standard step or was doing better than their step. And we checked. So, let's see. I had the list out because we called all those counties to check to see what they were doing in benefits for their employees.
Lisa, while you're looking at it, drawing down the development tax for capital, what was that again? How much?
would it drop?
600,000.
Just opinion, I'd say this.
Is that your 586 number? You just kind of rounded it up? No, it's 600,000.
600 is right
There
over
it is. There it is. Yeah. Okay.
That's the 600 over there.
I saw that a while ago.
That's
I
a little
didn't.
different.
Okay.
I went looking if we went, up with what we had before, and there's basically 3 taxes that people pay that go to the county. And that's the property tax, that's the wheel tax, and that's 1 3/8% on the sales tax. And I did I used 160,000 because that's easily divisible by 4 as opposed to 150. And I used, for a house, and I used 280,000. And the 280,000 I used, and I assumed a salary of 100,000 because I was going to go high on thing. And what in 3 vehicles. And that person would pay $1,726 to the county in property tax, $344 in sales tax to the county to go to schools. The rest of that local option goes to, is a situs, and the rest of it goes to the state, and 162 on 3 vehicles for the county's wheel tax sticker. If the house was 160,000, that would have dropped to 986 on That's what they're paying right now. 986 on the property tax, 344 and 162. But I would assume somebody would have to pay on that sales tax $25,000 a year spent in Rutherford County on something that was covered by the sales tax in order for Rutherford County to get $344. So that's just showing what we're paying right now. Just as, I don't know, to me it was nice to know.
Well, our tax rate now is 246.
2.4652.
Yeah, so another time would be 256.52 or whatever. I remember several years ago it was at 274.
280.
281.
280 at
281 at one point, so 274 when I was elected.
Yes.
So there's an article in the paper about how the city has not raised their tax rate in 16 years. We roll ours back. Our tax rate is lower than it was 11 years ago. I saw somewhere back in the 80s, our tax rate was in the $4 range. Maybe it was the 70s. It was $4.37 at some point in time. I remember seeing an article. I've been reading a lot of old newspapers lately, but going through my mother's house. But so our tax rate, you know, is cheaper than it's been in the past.
Plus, all of this changes with respect to the reappraisals
Yeah.
and the certified rates. that
We have taken the certified rate.
We took the 24652 is a certified rate. It's not at least, was the certified rate at the last appraisal. We did not take advantage of increasing that or otherwise.
Commissioner Schaefer, I do have your numbers. Strictly $300 per employee, that's the way I did it, would add 290, I'll round it, about 295,000 to the general fund. We'll add about 47,000 to the ambulance, a little over 9,000 to solid waste. That equates to, doing 300, that equates to $11.53 per pay period.
Well, makes up for the Social Security that went back up this year. But with this proposal by the mayors, the ambulance fund is gonna be able to get some more ambulances the next year.
Yes.
And
More ambulances can continue, but, you know, dispatch consoles are out.
Yeah.
They're done with.
Well, what about with the proposal that's come from Middle Tennessee Medical Center, is that gonna be
We can
effective?
take one bite per year. You could build a station, or you can take the Middle Tennessee Medical Center proposal, or you can improve the living quarters and sort, but you can only do one of those per year.
Well, we're on a string on that console.
At some point, if that console fails, we can't dispatch. We'll have to, they can move themselves to the 911 emergency center as a backup.
But that's the one that's to be done this year, right?
Yes, that has to be done this year.
Which, that's off the table in this proposal.
No, that's on the table for this year.
Okay, it's
I'm
still,
just-
I misunderstood
No,
what you
it's
said a
still,
moment ago.
this year is still intact. I'm just saying next year, it allows us not to have that expenditure next year and those cardiac monitors, et cetera. And that way it gives us the ability to last longer with this fund balance, without going negative.
Well, it concerned me when I thought that was being pulled, so.
No.
We want our folks to be able, when they dial 911 and they need help, we want somebody to be able to respond, so.
I want them to come to my house.
That's what it's all about, so.
And we don't want them to break down on the way to the hospital, right?
Was this just from Commissioner Baum just for us to look at, or is
Well,
he
I
gonna
mean-
talk about it, or what is he gonna?
I mean,
We talked about it a little bit
You
the other
can
night.
talk about it, you can, suggest that you adopt whatever of those items you choose. I just did not include those in this recommendation.
Well, you did pick up on bringing some money out of the ambulance fund, though.
Oh, yeah, we moved a penny out of the ambulance fund.
That's one of the
Yeah,
one
to
of
help
the
county
suggestions
general. We did
there.
do that piece of it, yes. And we did move some penny out of debt service, but that wasn't really on his recommendation.
Right.
It's just something we can do and still have the ability to fund those potential things we need without jeopardizing that fund.
I get the impression people aren't super interested in discussing my proposal any further, but I will add one thing. When you make some of the cuts in the proposal, I guess that saves money, but it also reduces the amount in fund balance that we're required to keep. When you reduce expenditures by a couple million, you can multiply that amount by 15%, and that's the amount that our reserves that we have to keep go down.
That's right.
That actually generates another $300,000 or $400,000 in savings. The number one concern I've heard about the plan is it doesn't provide any kind of increase in pay to the employees. But you would actually have $300,000 or $400,000 that you could use to provide some kind of pay increase. The one Commissioner Schaefer mentioned just a moment ago, which was a $300 increase per employee, was going to come in at under $400,000. You could actually find that money from the reduction in unassigned fund balance that you'd have to keep when these cuts are made. Again, let's say you cut by $2 million. We'll multiply that by 15%, and that's the amount by which you can draw down unassigned fund balances. It could go to some kind of pay increase, like a $300 per employee. That's the only thing that we didn't discuss on Tuesday.
Well, we've been putting off vehicles for the last 6 years, I guess, because of the economy, and the economy's picking up some now, and planning, animal control, ambulances and stuff, and Commissioner Baumstein wants to take out the planning and the animal control vehicles and stuff, but we've got to backfill some vehicles at some point in time. If we don't start a little bit this year, we're going to have to start a little stronger next year, or start at some point in time, because the wheels are going to fall off the vehicle at some time. We'll have to buy the whole fleet at once. So I think it's time to start replacing some equipment. The economy is improving. And if we did raise taxes some amount, I'm not saying how much, that number would compound next year, or we'd have a little more next year instead of waiting a year.
You mentioned the economy improving. One of the things I did, because I looked at what the unemployment rate was for the state and for the county, in which the county is actually lower than the state. I went on to check with the Career Center here in town, and I also checked with Career Builders, which is done through the newspaper, to see how many jobs were in the area. And I know not everybody qualifies for these jobs that are unemployed, so I want to first say that. But currently in Rutherford County, well, actually, jobs in Murfreesboro are in the surrounding area within a 25-mile radius. I think that's what Career Builder, how many miles it was. There's 4,272 open vacant jobs as of 5/16/2013. Based on what they have at the Career Center alone, within a 25-mile radius, they have 3,062. So while we do have some employment, there are jobs opening every day, is what I'm trying to say, to help offset those individuals who are not employed at this time, which I know was a concern as well for a tax increase. So it seems to be improving across the state as far as employment trends. That's true too. That's true. Some of them do require unique qualifications, yes.
You know, people just don't have anything sometimes too.
Well, and this plan keeps the sheriff cars in there. It also keeps the SROs in there to fulfill our obligation, we feel like, in doing, keeping that out, or keeping the plan, following through with the plan. I'll get it right in a minute. Mr. Baum, your pay plan benefits on 700,000, is that, I was just trying to just kind of roughly compare, is this taking away the expanded table also, or is this, how did you come up with that number?
That's taking
That was
away
the
the
step increases.
That's
The step
The
altogether.
original
That's the
step
step.
increase.
That's
The original.
That's saying employees stay where they
Right.
are.
Where they-
today.
right.
No increase.
Well, we're at 10, and the other night at Health and Ed, at the school board, we were roughly saying 9, what was it? 9.7? 9, no, what was it?
8 or 9, what was it?
8.9 or something. wasn't it?
Right at 9 cents.
Right at
That's what we
9.
was looking at.
That was before we adjusted the.
We adjusted and
Yeah, but did that include the SROs added
It
into
did
it?
include
Mhm.
the SROs at that time.
it did.
Of course, these numbers would work at, say, 6.5, but that doesn't give you anything for the full year of insurance next year.
We'll be,
Right.
I
we're
think
we're
you'll
talking
be-
about
you'll
the
be
same stuff.
right
next
back
year.
here next
We'll be
year doing it
wrestling with
again.
this again.
And on the wages with the expanded table, it, you know, we put them in the pay grade that they needed to be in. One of the things that we're facing with our turnover, and while the county's turnover is still relatively low as comparison to others, you know, our sheriff's department and our ambulance service are just two departments, and they're large departments that do a significant amount of training so that we have the best people on the road in those jobs. And what we find happening is we spend all the money to train these people, and then they go somewhere else and they benefit from the service only because once they get that post-certification, for example, or become a paramedic because they've spent the time with us, they go to somewhere else, and then we have to start from the bottom all over again to retrain. So you lose some in productivity and some in experience that you would have gained only because, while it doesn't sound like much to us, it would be a few dollars more. So the expanded table does help to get them, especially individuals in those fields, in a better pay grade for what they're doing.
I agree. Being on public safety, I've seen it happen. So,
We're even losing paramedics and we have the training in there for them and for them to go to school. We've gotten the scholarships and we still lose them to other places, some, not as much, but we do.
Well, a lot of people don't agree with the benefits that we give, but, you know, point out again, one of the reasons we have the good schools that we do is because we've got good teachers, and we retain and get good teachers because of these benefits that we're offering. And there's a lot of people out here at MTSU, which is a teacher's college, and it's nice to have access to them, but part of the reason they're not leaving here and going to Knoxville or Clarksville or Memphis or wherever is because of the benefits that we're offering there. And, you know, we don't offer those benefits, and I promise you, people nowadays, the new graduates that are coming out, that's what they're looking at, is that bottom line, and they're gonna leave
Well,
instead of us being able to retain them.
15% of our employee population could retire today. They already meet age eligibility or level of service. There's another 25% of them that can retire within the next 10 years. And so when you start thinking that 25% of your employee population could be gone in the next 5-10 years, if you don't do something to the pay table to make us attractive, you're not going to get those people either.
And I think it's about half my staff.
Just in your department alone, when you think about it, yeah.
But this all builds to the reason that Rutherford County economically is better off than the rest of this state, because we have these benefits in place. I guarantee you, Amazon would not be here, Nissan and a lot of those satellites would not be here if we didn't have people that were capable of filling those jobs. And that's what they look at. They look at the schools. And if you don't believe me, talk to our chamber. Our schools are one of the biggest things that they look at. And if we don't do our education right, then they're going to be going, those jobs are going somewhere else. And that's one reason, you know, the economy here is so much better off than it is in some of these other counties across the state. So I think we're doing a lot of things right. I know we don't make people happy when we come out and say, hey, we need this. But we're not asking for it because we just think, hey, we can do this. You know, I take it a lot more seriously when I'm spending the public's money than I do my own. I don't have a lot of my own, so I have to look at it closely. I guarantee you I'll look at this closely too, and I'm not going to ask my constituents to pay this if I don't think they're going to get a payback from it.
I guess we can sit here like this all night, can't we? I could, I could read over Mr. Baum's, Commissioner Baum's info pretty thoroughly, and there's some, I can go along with the new, the open positions, leave them open. I can go for a year with not getting a new vehicle. I know I still got a '96 Ranger. I just got rid of my Saturn. I finally got a manual transmission Cruise, so I can, you know, at 2012 when the 13th came out, so I came out good on that. But the stormwater person's got to come, because water is going to be our biggest problem in the future, or lack of it, I guess. But you know, and if someone wants to make a motion to cut those, you know, I'll give that a second. Otherwise, I think we need to move forward if nobody wants to.
Madam Chairman, are you looking for a motion on the mayor's proposal or any proposal?
That will be appropriate, yes.
I'll make the motion that we adopt the mayor's proposal.
Can I clarify? Is the proposal the change in the pennies, moving the pennies?
Yes,
Is it adding 5 additional cents?
it is.
Okay.
Total tax rate of 2.5692.
And with the
With the
Total.
total tax rate?
5 and 5.
And
5
the
and
5.
general fund would be, I didn't add that.
I jotted them down while ago.
Total is right here on 2.5692.
That's going up to 10 cents.
Mhm. Commissioner P., that is your motion?
Is it on all funds that we talking about, we're just doing general fund?
The proposal that he talked about.
Okay,
All funds.
all funds.
All of them.
All funds,
Yes.
okay.
We're going to be okay on the debt service, for sure.
Yes.
Well,
We have a motion, gentlemen. We need a second.
well, I do want to, I'm going to second it, but I do want to also say that anything that we decide between now and June 30th is not going to affect me, because I won't be working for the county after June 30th. So that's when this all goes into effect. So this big pay raise we're talking about, I don't need to worry about going to Starbucks and spending it.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Further discussion, please.
$150,000 house, this was how much of an increase?
37.50
$37.50 a
Per
year.
year.
per year.
So that's $3 and a few cents a month.
Yes, sir.
It's less than $1 a week, 75 cents a week.
That's right.
We probably should have talked about 18 or 20 cents first, and 10 cents would be a lot better. So we talked about 7 or 8 cents, and 10 cents is worse, so.
We were thinking, I was thinking more. What was it to balance? 50 cents?
Well, I had 2 different people that I respect greatly comment to me in the last 2 weeks that said, if you're gonna raise the taxes, add enough in to get by 3 or 4 years, don't be back doing it every year. And it's been, what, 5 years since we've increased taxes?
3?
3.
It's been
3 years, what they said, and they said, get enough, and that's what going from 6.5 to 10 does, so.
And that's why I made the motion, because, you know, I can't see coming back and dipping there again next year. If we know that we've got these problems in front of us, let's take care of them. And it's just like I mentioned to the school board, you know, we got a good budget from them that was easy to understand, whether you agree with it or not. But I think this is the same way. We don't need to play games with it. This is what it is. This is what we need. And I feel like these are what we need.
I don't think you approve a tax increase and think it's for a year longer or 5 years longer or anything. It's kind of almost a misstatement there. You got reappraisal year.
Coming up, all things are.
That that's a misconception right there. I mean, you know, you feel it in the pocketbook, you feel it when you pay it.
But we've gone back to
So-
certified rate the last few times. We have not held the tax rate.
You can tweak it however you want to tweak it. It's still more out of my pocket whenever I go to pay my taxes.
Depends where you live.
Depends, yeah, some people taxes go
Some
down.
people- Some
with
people went
certified
down
rate.
last time too.
I ain't never had my taxes go down.
They paid
You
less.
stay at the
Certified rate on
rate.
average, it
On
stays the
average,
same.
You don't
Yeah.
change.
You don't gain or lose.
We've just always been above average, Steve.
Oh, well, I was proud to be above average in something.
I stopped painting your house and fix it up so much.
Yeah.
I guess, can I just make one comment, is that even with 10 cents, I still think that we're gonna have discussions next year too.
Yeah.
We've got to watch unassigned fund balance.
It puts
this
all of
year,
us
too.
under more, I guess, pressure to try to balance it next year for sure.
Huge part is how insurance trends between now and then. We could be looking at another killer year on insurance, depends on claims and costs.
That's right.
Health claims, and Melissa works really hard on her wellness programs to make sure that, you know, we're seeing an increase in participants. We had like 700 participants last quarter.
Which is really, you know, it's, when you have healthy, I wanna sound morbid, when you have healthy people, they live longer, they are on our pension longer, so our pension rate goes up.
And we're happy about that.
We-
I wanna live longer.
That discussion is before us as well
It's coming.
in the next 12 months.
Yes.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion relative to this motion?
I'm gonna say openly before y'all hear me say no, that I'm not in on it yet. And strictly because of, you know, I look at balancing per year. You know, we're padding it just a little bit for next year. It's election year. You throw those type things in there. We don't wanna raise taxes. We haven't historically on election year. And so, you know, we try to do it now so we don't do it next year when folks are voting for us. Well, that's a little misconstrued right there, and I'm not really excited about it. So,
Well, in 2006,
Mhm.
I think we went up 9 cents.
We did.
That was an election year.
somebody did, I didn't.
The county did.
Yeah, the county did. But, I'm not in at this point. And I was already prepared and looking that, you know, we were gonna have to raise it to make up the difference in a lot of situations and to do what we're gonna do, but, I think we're a few pennies high at this point right now.
This will-
But I don't wanna go in here or I can't go in here right at this point and start mudding the water and saying, you know, we can knock a penny out here, we can knock a penny out here. But it may happen a little bit later.
Yeah, right. You bring up a good point. I
Yeah.
mean, because this is the information that we'll use for publication
Mhm.
and what we'll use to talk to the public. And the information that the public will be responding to. And if you remember, we have that meeting and then we come back the next day to discuss.
Right.
So I guess for everybody in this room and everybody watching, it's not a done deal
Right.
until June 30th.
Well, in years past, we've had 1 to show or 0 to show. I think 0 last year, wasn't it? Or maybe was it 1? And then
There
year
had been
before
more.
that, just a handful anyway.
2 or 3 is all we've
Yeah.
had the last few years.
So if the public doesn't mind about 10 cents right here, this will be a overwhelming, convincing point for me. And we'll all be getting some phone calls and notification about how folks feel about it, so.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
No.
Commissioner Jernigan,
I'm gonna read this here, because I'm an employee of Rutherford County Highway Department, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted, however, I declare it in Harding, and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents. And the citizens this body represents. Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Also need to read, because my wife is a member of, works for the Board of Education, I have a conflict of interest in the motion about to be voted on. I declare that my vote and my argument answer only to my conscience and to my constituents. I believe that's close enough. And yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
No.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Well, put the glasses on. Read this because an employee of Rutherford County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. And I'll vote yes.
Commissioner Elam.
Yes. 5-2. Okay. Gentlemen, as our finance director reminded us, this is what will be published in the newspaper, and of course, this is what the public will respond to when we have our public hearing. But I do need a motion for publication, and Ms. Short has given, or has gotten quotes from the D&J and the Post, and if you will help us make a decision on this, please.
Post quoted the same thing that they did last year, which was $1,260. The Daily News Journal also quoted the same thing they did last year, which was $3,326.40, plus a $25 affidavit charge.
What did we do last year?
We did with the Post last year.
1,200.
What's the will of the committee?
We're gonna get front page tomorrow for free.
Way to go.
Motion, we do the most economical of the two.
Okay, and that's the Post. We have a motion.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Schaefer, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. It will be published in the Post. And what will that day?
Sunday, June 9th.
Sunday, June 9th. It will be published in the Post.
Oh, no, you're gonna be close.
Gentlemen, any other business that needs to come before our committee?
When's our next meeting?
Our next meeting, regular meeting. Regular meeting is June
Next
6th.
Thursday.
Regular meeting, June 6th.
When is our public hearing in trial process?
June 17th.
You think we'll have anybody show up this year?
We never know, do we?
Is it seven?
We never know.
Here.
Don't be excited.
Gentlemen, we'll see you then at our regular June 6th meeting. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Thank you.